Hey guys, it's Eli here. I decided that I'm going to respond to the case study number 3, which is talking about the whole situation with the digital testing and equipment distribution company and with Albany, where they had a whole situation set up where some equipment was kind of promised and expected to be able to work in like the northern seed, being able to deal with some harsh conditions, and didn't exactly necessarily live up to all of its promises and everything when it first came. Now there was a couple different things going on with some communication with their lead engineer, and also just just some customer sales stuff. So anyway, there's some hurt feelings going on here. And actually a lot of people have a lot of money that are on the line with it, so naturally that makes people very uneasy when they have deadlines, when they have a lot of things going on. So this is a bit of a perfect point to be able to jump in with some follow-up, with some post-sale service, and kind of be able to recover the situation as best as possible, potentially even turn this into kind of more of a positive experience for the customer than it initially was. Even though it started off bad, it still has that potential there to turn out really well. So actually, due to some traveling constraints, I don't have kind of anyone with me. As you can see, I'm actually in a hotel room, but I don't really have anyone with me that I'm able to act this out or do this. So I hope it's all right that I'm kind of running this one solo, being able to talk about it rather than role playing it. But I think first and foremost that what Mark is the sales representative that recommended and coordinated and made the sale. He got the contract, he got everything supplied to them so that they could set up this new rig for mining and drilling. So one of the first things is that Mark should be capable of recognizing the mistakes. In a situation like this, especially where the customer has the potential to be losing money and losing contracts because of the problems with the equipment that's been sold to them, he needs to be able to have I guess humility is a good word, humility to be able to step in and truly assess and understand. And he needs to kind of have that emotional intelligence to be able to recognize that she's really going through a lot of bad things with this, and there's a lot of stress on her mind. So even if he didn't necessarily feel like it was all their fault, even if he felt like she didn't give him all the information, something like that, taking a defensive posture and really just trying to buckle down and just defend himself a ton and defend the company and the product a lot probably isn't necessarily the right way to win her over and to take control of the situation. He may be right, but that's not necessarily the right thing that you should be doing in this situation. First, you should kind of, obviously be apologetic for what's going on. In the case study it talked about, he has the opportunity to send engineers out there. That apparently there is a solution, there is a fix. It'll cost like $5,000 to get an engineer out there. Doesn't mention anything about parts or any kind of repairs, anything like that. So just assume it's $5,000. But what I would say is that what he ought to do is definitely get an engineer out there on the next flight possible. This is a serious high-dollar business, and it's a very large sale, a very large contract, something that they've been trying to break into this market for a while and haven't really had a lot of success with. So obviously he should be doing everything in his power not to lose this. Now she feels that she's kind of not necessarily been lied to, but that the products and the services that they've been sold are not living up to the expectation that she was given. But she ought to get that in the end. So this can be used as an opportunity to really showcase their service and everything that they can provide after the sale. It's one thing to sell somebody a product, it's another thing to really stand behind that product. And when they get an engineer out there working on it, first thing next morning, whatever it takes to get him out there, then that really showcases what's going on. And unfortunately, she had to call him about the problem, not necessarily him being ahead of the ball. And maybe a preventative way of getting this would be to have kind of maybe like a support engineer, someone there to be watching the product, getting the product started as it's coming off the ground. Maybe could have caught the problem, maybe could have avoided some of these things. But at this point, it would be really good to have an engineer, have somebody out there to monitor what's going on. And if he can't do that, at least he should be making probably at least daily calls, just checking on the situation, checking on the status, seeing how things are living up to their expectation, and really providing all of that support, providing everything. Now, in this case where it's kind of an extra mile type of deal, something that wasn't supposed to be, and according to her knowledge and their knowledge, everything would have worked fine. None of those costs, in my opinion, ought to reflect on her. None of them should be passed on to her as a customer. In a situation like this, the company should be confident enough and good enough standing behind their product that they can really put their all behind it. If she's trying to break into a market like this, if she's trying to keep this as a long-term customer, she has to be satisfied in the long run. One bump at the start doesn't necessarily mess it up, but when there's a good follow-through in this, he has an opportunity to turn this into a repeat client if he can really make sure that they're satisfied with the product and make sure that it is constantly living up to their expectations. Down the road, there can open up a lot of opportunities for selling more products and more services even when it comes to it. But simply that's what it comes down to, is a little bit of humility and sometimes a willingness to bite a financial bullet in order to make sure that what you promised someone is actually what they're getting. So anyway, those would be the things that I think would kind of help him recover the situation and what he should be doing in order to kind of respond to it.